Nacho! Nacho Libre. Beautiful Nickelodeon film from 2006. So if you don't know the drill yet, welcome to Exit Theater Left, the show where we rate a movie that no one probably cares about anymore, and then rate it again on random criteria that we draw from a deck of cards.
Oh man, so yeah, just right off the bat, Nickelodeon film. I definitely thought it was under a different publishing house. I did not know that that was Nickelodeon.
If you didn't think it was Nickelodeon, who do you think would have brought us this masterpiece?
Honestly, I don't know if it's just fresh off of Shrek, but I wanted it to be DreamWorks. I don't know.
Nacho Libre, the animated film, brought you.
I have so many fond memories of this movie, watching this movie growing up. It's hard to imagine it's from a studio that's right. I don't know if I can name another Nickelodeon movie aside from the SpongeBob movie.
They definitely did live action Drake Bell Fairly Odd Parents movie.
Oh boy, yikes.
I have to admit, this was the first time I've actually ever seen Nacho Libre.
Yes, it's true. I am Nacho, the luchador. Who?
As soon as I found out he had not seen Nacho Libre, that was immediately at the top of the list. During the viewing experience, I was happy to see how many times he was having a good laugh.
I have on this list, I have 3 popular ratings that this movie has received.
Okay.
At current standing. I pulled these today.
Current.
IMDb, what do they have listed as Nacho
I think
Libre?
it is a fair point to establish now that I am a person who loves movies that these websites very frequently disagree with. I think an 8 out of 10. They gave it an 8 out of 10 stars. You know, it's a good kid movie, and from his reaction, I could tell I am wrong.
IMDb currently holds Nacho Libre at a 5.7 stars.
This is again, I told you I don't agree with these.
Another fairly common source, we have Metacritic. What would you think? Based on IMDb's 5.7.
Wow, okay. Fine. Fine, IMDb. If you agree with IMDb, this show is not for you. 6.6. Oh no, it's a percent.
It's out of 100. It's 1 to 100.
68%.
Metacritic gave Nacho Libre currently a 52 out of 100.
What are y'all doing?
So we have
What are you doing?
Rotten Tomatoes is the one that does out of 100%.
Yes, and Rotten Tomatoes is
usually the harsher of
very
the source.
critic. Fine. Rotten Tomatoes 45%.
39%
Oh
on Rotten Tomatoes. And trust me, the comments are equally as good. Equally as good.
Surprise. Get that cone out of my face!
Everything included. What would you rate it out of 10 stars? Or excuse me, 10 corn on the cobs.
10 corn on the cobs.
10 corn
yes,
on the cobs.
Absolutely. 10 corn on the cobs.
How many corns would you rate this movie as it sits?
Honestly, it's a solid 7.5.
All right. Okay.
I laughed at almost every same moment I probably laughed at when I was a kid watching this movie, and I think that's only because I knew it was coming and I was mentally hyping myself up for the joke, if that makes sense. If we move into a thing working against it, it's definitely geared towards a younger audience.
Sure.
And there are, Jack Black nails that kind of humor, and it's even there are some very good dialogue moments, but there's also a lot of slapstick kind of comedy in the movie that's really funny when you're a kid, or at least when I was a kid. There was moments now that I'm a child would find this hilarious. I'll give it a good chuckle.
So what's hurting the film for you is that there was no caviar for the older audience left about amongst the candy.
There was some good older moments, but it's less so than even something like Shrek.
Have you ever had feelings for a nun?
No way.
There's this nun. I just wish I could take off this robe so she could see how strong I am.
I am rocking the 7 corn cobs on the stalk. It definitely makes the older viewer looking back or back then, okay, we're sitting through this movie for our children.
Yep.
Which from a cinematic standpoint, it depends. Are you rating the movie as great cinema, or are you rating the movie as what it was set out to be, which was entertainment?
Where is your robe, Ignacio?
It was stinky, but these are my recreation clothes.
I will say how clean the structure was. I mean, if you're really looking at like a spec script, all the beats are there. It does not take you long to get you into the story. You're like, here's Nacho, always wanted to be a wrestler, ends up being a wrestler. He learns an important message along the way. It didn't reinvent the wheel. It was just a wheel. That's a 7 from me and a 7.5 from you as our base scores. I'll let you draw the first card.
Nice. Pleasure.
Pleasure. What was the most pleasurable aspects, if there were any, watching the film? Where does it stem from? And that's going to be a criteria going into the rating.
Rewatching this movie almost made me remember the mindset I was in when I watched it as a child. Thanks, Mom, for sitting through this movie 4 times. It's a fun movie, and it's hard to be like overly upset at any point. You just enjoy it, and you know that nothing like intensely bad is going to happen.
I love Nestle Crunch.
The plot is fun, but if he didn't win, it's probably not the end of the world. And you just feel good afterwards. Like some movies I really put off rewatching because it's like, I know this is going to be an hour and a half of something I didn't like the first time.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
There's nothing offensive in terms of emotional attacks.
Amacho y esqueleto.
Theme and message. Be it because Nacho wins beyond, or the reason he does win for a thematic standpoint is because eventually he ditches vanity.
It's for the children, not
for the children.
the stretchy pants.
Not the stretchy
which
pants,
is an
not the
important
shiny
lesson
shoes.
to learn as
Right.
a child.
It really suits the movie, and you come out feeling that, if you're going to fight, if you're going to be violent, you have to do it for a cause beyond yourself.
Without it being the intention or not, the theme of this character struggling with their faith. He definitely goes back and forth on if he wants to really go all in on this whole vow of celibacy thing or
Wow,
not.
that too. And the scene that pops out into my mind is when he's actually praying and he's like, God, why did you give me a fighter body to make me a stinky
If
warrior?
I win, then it's proof God exists.
Have I focused too much on my boots and all my fame and my stretchy pants? Yeah, maybe that. Okay, if I win tonight at the Battle Jam, I will know that you blessed my mission and that you want me to be a wrestling servant of you.
Definitely also kind of bashes the church that
Right.
he's at.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Nacho earned the faith of both the children and the sister.
Yes.
And it was his faith and in pursuing something that he found a way to make fit in his religion, which I think is a powerful message.
Sometimes I would like that kind of respect.
Who was this man?
Well, to tell you the truth, he was a luchador.
Wrestling is ungodly, Ignacio. People cheer for him, but he is a false idol.
Whatever.
Ooh, costume and design. You know, you had the characters that they fight throughout, and then that final like 7-way fight off for the honor to.
We're not talking about the pleasure category anymore. Yeah, I mean beyond the actual luchador outfits, when they're at the party, he's got like the big frills. That's great. The baby blue friar outfit,
Yes.
killer.
Ignacio, I've been looking for you. Where have you been?
I've been here. I've been sleeping.
In a frilly shirt and slacks?
They are my PJs.
There's something to be said for practical
True set design,
practical effects
costumes.
and costumes, yeah. And the fact that every time they come up with a costume for the two main characters, it's them making it.
Right.
Yeah, like the little montage of them like swiping various items. I like to imagine he gives it back somehow when he's done, you know.
We have costume and design, pleasure, and theme and message. Strictly on those three categories. How many corn kernels or cobs out of the appropriate canister for those objects would you rate it based on your 7.5 as a base score?
It got really lucky with the draw here.
You're already fending off the haters.
Yeah, because I'm going to give it a solid 9 corn cobs out of a possible 10 corn stalks.
I looked like a fool last night.
I lost my metaphor there. 9 corn cobs out of possible 10 corn cobs.
I'm also giving it, strictly on these three categories, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 corn cobs on the stock. And honestly, the only thing that's keeping it from a 10, I think, is the pleasure category. It's funny, but it's not that funny. And I don't mean to be harsh, but it's not a 10 funny.
I think for me, the part that brought it down was now that you brought up the whole faith thing, I was like, yeah, maybe that was shoved down my throat a little too much.
Going up against Satan's caveman. And I just thought it would be a good idea if you... Felicidades.
I'd still enjoy watching this movie again, maybe in a while.
Yeah. I would, if it was on, I
recently.
would not be opposed
Yes,
to watching
you know,
it.
it's fun.
Late night, kind of kick it back.
There are some great lines. To see when he's getting chased by the girl in the tunnels. That was like probably something that they had in there that the studio couldn't get out, because that scene is insane compared to the rest of the movie's kind of vibe.
Steven!
Thank you all for watching. Always, if you liked it, give us that like.
And hey, if you want, sound off in the comments below. Let us know what you think we should watch next.
Stay safe, stay well. #SwampPod.
#SwampPod.